And we have started, it looks like. Hello, this is Ralph, and doing a spiritual stream today. And what I thought I would do moving forward is rather than combining the home based business live streams and videos and the spiritual videos that I do all on one YouTube channel, I've decided to kind of split things up a little bit and primarily have a home based business channel for all the home based business stuff, where I'll be talking about affiliate marketing, network marketing, and other ways of building a business from home. And then a spiritual channel that I'm calling Temple of the Infinite. And that will be most of my spiritual stuff. Now, there will be some overlap between home business and spirituality. But for the most part, I'll be trying to keep the purely spiritual topics on the spiritual channel and the business related topics more on the business channel. So, yeah, I'm very excited. I got permission from Google. I created a new channel for the spiritual information, spiritual streams, and it's got one subscriber. That's how new it is. And I got permission from Google just the other day to be able to use advanced features on it, even though I don't have a history, much of a history there on that channel. So yeah, those negotiations yesterday went very well. And hopefully by tomorrow, I'll be able to live stream directly on that channel like I am on my home-based business channel. But yeah, moving forward, we'll be able to do that. What I'm going to be doing is spending the morning, where normally I've been talking about home-based business anyway during the morning times. That will continue to be the home-based business streams that I'll be doing. And then the evening streams will be focusing more on spiritual topics. So with that all said, happy Sunday. I thought a good topic for today would be talking about a topic that may be considered somewhat controversial by some, but it's about reincarnation. And the title of this is Reincarnation, Are We Blank Slates or Are We Born Epic Novels? And there are people that believe that we are, when we're born as children, we're essentially blank slates. And over time, we get information programmed into us and we grow to become the people that we are. But there is also a body of evidence that seems to suggest very strongly that we are actually not blank slates, but we are born epic novels. And there have been there's been work done with children, primarily geared towards children, in which children that are the age of like 5 or 6 or up to about the age of 7 or 8, they can remember past lives, and they will be shocking their parents by saying things like, "This isn't my real home. My real home is much bigger than this." And even some children will go up and say to their mother, "You're not my real mother. My real mother was different. My real mother was prettier or richer," or something like that. And this will cause some concern with the parents. Sometimes the parents will think, oh, the children are just having childhood fantasies. But there have been some researchers who have determined that no, that these children are actually remembering past lives. I remember one researcher was interviewing a family in which they had a young boy who was complaining about a pain in his throat. And they took him to the doctor. The doctor couldn't figure out where that pain was coming from. And the boy would say, "It's from my shot. I have a shot in my throat." And he began to remember one past life, in which he was a pilot during the Second World War, and he was shot through his throat. And the trauma of that past life, he was carrying with him into his present incarnation in the late 20th century. So yeah, there are indications by some researchers that have convinced some researchers that while reincarnation may not be the rule for everybody, now personally I believe that it is, but may not be the rule for everybody. But there are definitely some people that are recalling the past lives, either of themselves or potentially maybe of other people, but they're recalling past lives nonetheless as if they actually experienced those lives. The most amazing story of past life remembrance, and really one of the most heartwarming, and it's a story that really has a lot to teach us about reincarnation, is the story of a young lady who was originally, well, maybe not originally, depending on how many lives she actually had, but one of her lives that she began to remember is that she was born in Ireland, in a small village in Ireland, and she was married at a rather young age, and she had a lot of kids, a lot of children. I mean, it was a good Catholic family, pretty much, you might as well say. And yeah, they had a lot of kids. I think somewhere in between 5 and 10. And while she was still young, I mean, she died unexpectedly. She contracted a disease, and the doctor couldn't figure out what it was, and she died. And she felt guilty dying at such a young age with a house full of young children that she felt it was her responsibility to take care of. Now, fast forward about 20 or 30 years into the future, this lady is born again, and in another life, this time in the United States. And in this life, she is beginning to remember the life that she lived in Ireland. And at an early age, she begins to remember that she has children, children that she's concerned about, even though when she first begins to remember, she has no children in this life, but she's remembering the past life in which she has a house full of kids. And she remembers dying. And she remembers where that village in Ireland is. And with a little bit of work, she's able to remember the family name. So she does a little bit of research. She goes to libraries, and this is pre-internet age, but she goes to libraries. She begins to do some research into this village that she remembers and into this family name that she remembers. And lo and behold, she discovers a group of family that goes by that name, still living either in or near that little village in Ireland. And she decides she's going to make a trip. She's going to go over to that village, and she's going to meet these people whom she believes to be her children. And when they meet her and when she meets them, a bond begins to happen. She begins to remember things from their childhood, things that only their mother could remember. And she begins to tell them, stories about this is how it was when you were growing up, and this is why we named you this, and this is why your father and I decided on this name, and this is who you're named after, and just began to remember the family history. And the adult children, who were now at least twice the age that this young woman from America claiming to be their mother, they were at least twice her age, but they were amazed that she could be recounting episodes from their childhood that they could remember, but which they hadn't been telling anybody else. And they became convinced that this young lady that came from the United States was actually their long lost mother, whom they supposed had died when they were just little children. And yeah, in fact, she had died when they were just little children. But she left this life feeling such a burden of guilt, such a burden of remorse at abandoning the family, that when she was born again, reborn in another life, in another country, in another time, it became her mission to remember to seek out those children and to reconnect as a mother would with her long lost children. And it's a very amazing story. It tells us that yes, the possibility of past lives definitely is there. And it tells us one possible reason as to why, we might uh, choose a certain path for ourselves in this present life. Maybe there's something that we left undone. Maybe there's something that we feel that we left unfinished. And then completing that work becomes our life calling in the present life. So when we think about the possibility of reincarnation, we have to kind of ask ourselves, are we born blank slates like a lot of people assume? Or are we epic novels born with knowledge from past lives, maybe many, numerous past lives, born with knowledge that we can tap into with the right discipline, maybe with the right mindset? And along these lines, we've heard stories of child prodigies, children that are born and have remarkable abilities, demonstrate remarkable abilities at very young ages. I was just before I got on this stream, I was researching Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. And Mozart was interesting individual, to say the least. At the age of 3, he was he was banging away at the piano, and not just banging away at the piano. He was learning how to play it at the age of 3. Imagine that. What were you doing at the age of 3? Me, I was learning how to blow snot bubbles out of my nose. That was a big thing when I was a kid growing up. But with Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, he was playing the piano at the age of 3. Age of 4, he had written a simple piece of music. Age of 5, he had composed his first symphony. At the age of 6, he was performing, on stage for royalty and other people. And then at the tender age of 5, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart died, and he's been decomposing ever since. But, seriously, he led a remarkable life, and at a very early age, he was doing very remarkable things. Now, you have to ask the question, why is this? Because we've heard of other child prodigies before, kids that are in college at the age of 12, maybe graduate school at the age of 16. They've got more degrees than a thermometer before they turn 20. Where do they get this genius? Is it that their brain is just wired a certain way, that it's easy for them to just pack in new knowledge and just pack in that knowledge? Or is it that they are born with some of this information and somehow they're able to access it, either consciously or unconsciously or subconsciously? They're able to tap into this reserve of knowledge and information and tap into it, access it, and use it at a far earlier age than most people can. And I think that is actually the answer right there. I had a spiritual advisor and teacher back in my early days, back in the 1980s, back in high school seminary. And this guy was he was a Catholic priest who was very well trained in the mystical tradition of the Christian tradition, and especially the Catholic Church. And he was sharing with us some of the gems of mystical spirituality that he had learned. And one of the things that he shared with us that was very, very much astounding, but something that I found very useful in my life, is that we were all studying, trying to cram for a test. And he shared with us, according to some of the mystical trainings, mystical traditions of the church, Uh, not, Learning is not the art of cramming new information into your brain. Learning is actually the art of remembering what you already know. And that stuck with me. Learning is actually the art of remembering what you already know. And he would recommend, yes, study, read your books, but then don't be cramming, the night before an exam. The day before an exam, do all your studying before, and then the day and especially the night before the exam, do something relaxing. Enjoy yourself. Go out and see a movie. Watch TV. Don't worry about the test. Let your mind relax. And then the next morning, you get up, you take the test. You'll be able to much more easily access the knowledge that's already there. And you just let it flow. And that actually made a rather important impact on me, and I carried that forward into my college life. But I kind of abused it in my college days because I found that there were certain topics that I seemed to have a natural aptitude for. And in college, I would take courses that kind of catered to my strengths. And I seem to have this strength for history, especially ancient history, where I could be like knowing, remembering, as it were, certain things from the past. And I wouldn't have to really read much. I would just skim through the textbooks and then set them aside and then go take the test and ace the test pretty much. And then I would be kind of bragging to my college friends saying, yep, I passed that test. I think I got an A on it. So maybe I should now sit down and read the book more thoroughly that test was based on. And I had one friend that just looked at me and said, Ralph, I hate people like you. But I mean, yeah, I just found there were certain topics, certain subjects in college that I just seemed to have a natural aptitude for, almost as if I was remembering this stuff, although I couldn't consciously recall past lives at that time. But things like history, ancient history, spirituality, religious studies, some forms of philosophy, that all that stuff just seemed to come easy to me. Now, where I kind of abused it and where I dropped the ball in college is that, yeah, I was sticking to the ancient stuff that I could access somehow in my mind, and I shied away from things that did not come naturally to me. Things like mathematics, things like computer science. Yes, that would have been a very good topic for me to have studied, but I didn't have the discipline. I was just, coasting along on the stuff that was easy for me. And now at the age of 62-ish, shall we say, I'm having to go back and learn a lot of this stuff because, our world is now built so much on computer science and internet and computer business. And now I'm wishing that I had spent more time actually studying this stuff back in the 1980s when I had the chance to begin learning it, instead of picking it up by the seat of my pants now in the 21st century. But yeah, past life memories can be accessed either consciously or subconsciously. And yeah, I think once we learn how to tap into these memories, tap into this vault of knowledge, whether it's from past lives, whether we think it's from past lives or some other source, and there are alternate explanations for all this, definitely. But yeah, we do have access to this body of knowledge. And the question is, how do we access it? And then once we access it, what do we do with it? And what things can we actually put this knowledge to good use for? How can we best use some of this knowledge? And what I found in my own life is that when I began the practice of meditation, just stilling my mind, clearing my thoughts, connecting with the God of my understanding, and just letting things happen, not really demanding anything, not really expecting anything, but just connecting with the God of my understanding and seeing where it would lead. When I began to do that for a couple hours a day minimum, and just began to become more relaxed and more focused in the practice of meditation, I would notice that's when these insights would begin to surface. That's when certain things would begin to be made more clear. I would be able to better understand certain things. And I found that in the act of meditation itself, I wouldn't necessarily be remembering the past lives, but the way it would work for me is that when I would go to bed after meditating, I would begin to have very educational dreams, let's just say. And in these dreams, some of these dreams, I would be meeting with spirit guides. And in still other dreams, I would be looking at episodes, presumably from a past life, presumably just watching as if I'm an outside observer and learning from these past experiences. And in some of my more colorful learning dreams, I would be accompanied by a spirit guide, and that person would be telling me, yes, this is you at a very early age, and this is what you did, this is what happened. And I'd be watching it as if I was watching a movie. And after I began having these experiences, I began to notice a pattern. And that pattern was that when I was going through a difficulty in this present life, something that I was trying to figure out, I would then sometimes go to sleep that night after meditating, and I would be shown an episode from a previous life in which I had dealt with that same difficulty, and I would be shown, okay, this is what you did that worked. This is what you did that was a classic failure. And this was an old-time fail. And one of the most moving past life memories that I've been able to access so far, and it's very tragic. It's one where I really dropped the ball at a very early age, but this goes back to Austria, the Austrian Alps, around the time of the fall of the Roman Empire, so about 1700 years ago, almost 2 millennia ago. And I was a child about the age of 7 in this past life memory that resurfaced a few years ago. And during this past life memory, I remember living through the fall of the Roman Empire, and my family used to be very prosperous. We used to have everything. We had a lot of kids. I had a lot of brothers and sisters. I had parents that I thought loved me. And when the fall came, the economy was terrible. I mean, so terrible that mom and dad decided we had to sell some of the children as slaves in order to make ends meet. And I was one of the kids that got sold off. And I was sold off to a traveling merchant. I don't know how much gold or silver was exchanged, but I didn't take to it very, very kindly at all. And that night, my response to it was that I hanged myself in despair. And I was shown that episode from my past life about 1,700 years ago, more or less, give or take. And it explained a lot to me, explained a lot about some of the feelings that I've had in this present life, some of the challenges that I've had in this present life, some of the failings, some of the successes I've had in this present life, and why I've always been adverse to the thought of taking my own life. It's because, okay, I've been there, done that before, did not work out very well. And I just got the information that, yes, this is a tragic period of your past that you really haven't faced up till now. And it's just weighed you down with a lot of negative karma that you need to learn how to deal with. And yeah, whenever I get to a point of despair now in this life, I just kind of think, been there, done that, lived through it almost 2,000 years ago. And it's like, what am I so worried about? It's like, just take the challenges of the present time, take the challenges of the present age, walk through these difficulties as best you can, and don't get all hung up on it. Don't act like it's a life or death situation, because that's one of the beautiful things about beginning to remember past lives, is that when you recall past lives, you also begin to recall your past deaths. And it's like, death is something that scares the bejesus out of a lot of people. It's like the thought of our own mortality can really turn a brave person into just a shrieking coward. But when you get this knowledge, this lived experience that death is not the end, that's just a transition, then you can look at even the thought of your own mortality in this life and think, okay, yeah, so I'm going to die. Big deal. Been there, done that, lived through it. I'll be back, I'll be back, And yeah, I think that's now given me the attitude that death is not to be feared, but at the same time, it's not something to be taken lightly. It's not something to be rushed into, via suicide, things like that. No, you don't want to go there. Yeah, I believe that I did that a long time ago. And yeah, it did not work out very well. And I've probably spent the last 1,000 years or so just trying to burn off a lot of that negative karma. So yeah, I would not advocate suicide at all. But fear of death, definitely not something that should be of concern. And that's the beauty, really, of being able to recall past lives, is not only being able to access certain past memories that you might be able to use in the present, either for purposes of business or art or something else, or reconnecting with loved ones that you left behind maybe 2 or 3 generations ago. Being able to reconnect with those people. You can also use that knowledge to help guide you through your present difficulties, through your own difficulties in your own spiritual growth. And to me, that is a tremendous bonus. And then plus being able to live with the knowledge that, you know what, this earthly life, this is not all that there is. There's a great song back in the 1960s, is that all there is? It may not be the exact title, but a young person looking at life and growing old and aging, and is just asking the question, is that all there is to this earthly existence? And the short answer is no. This is not all that there is. This is just a drop in the bucket. And how we manage our past life experiences, what we do in the present life, sets the stage for the next life. And once you begin to understand this, you begin to understand, God does not punish us for our own misdeeds. God does not damn us to hell because we screwed up in some way. No, we damn ourselves to the hell of our own creation via what happens to us in this life and what may happen to us in lives to come. But we actually punish ourselves through our own choices, through our own misdeeds. And we also reward ourselves with our own good deeds and our own successes that we enjoy, and our own attitudes and our own choices that we make. We end up determining, okay, where are you going to be right now in this present moment of time? Are you going to be in a state of heavenly bliss where you just feel connected with the God of your understanding and with the world around you, and at one and at peace with the universe? Or are you going to be in a state of hell, in a state of separation, a state of being held off or being fenced off, from God, from the universe, from even your friends, your loved ones, the people that try to connect you. If you build up a wall of separation between you, the God of your understanding, and the rest of the created order, then that is a state of hell. And you create it on your own with your own inner attitudes, with your own choices. And once we begin to understand this, we begin to understand how empowered we can be to really choose at any given moment. Am I going to place myself in a state of heaven, a state of connection between me, the God of my understanding, and the rest of the universe, trying to live in harmony as best I can with the world and the people in it? Or am I going to create a state of hell for myself, just feeling like I'm cut off, focused on all the pain, focused on all the suffering, and forgetting about all the lessons that this pain and suffering could teach me? And just being mad at the universe and mad at God and mad at myself. We all have that choice. A lot of people choose the way of hell, the way of separation, the way of thinking like, I'm just going to focus on everything that went wrong in my life. And I'm going to ruminate on all the bad that's happened to me. And I'm going to tell myself this sad, sad story over and over and over again. And just sit on my pity pot and feel sorry for myself. A lot of people choose that way forward. And that's a waste of time. I did that for many decades, not going back there again. Very unprofitable place to be, both spiritually, financially, and every other way. Or we can choose to be connected. We can choose to focus on the positive. We can choose to focus on what the negative experiences in our lives have taught us and how this empowers us to move forward more creatively, more abundantly, and just in a much better frame of mind. So yeah, we can learn these lessons with or without accepting reincarnation. Now, the theory that I operate off of, based on my own abilities to recall, is, for me, reincarnation it exists. It's a given. To me, it's obvious that this is how the universe functions. But, you can gain benefits from this without believing in reincarnation at all. It's like you can believe that the sun will rise in the morning and set at night, and so it is. You can also disbelieve that the sun is going to rise in the morning and set at night, and guess what? The sun is still going to rise in the morning and set in the evening with or without your kind permission. It's kind of the same way with past life memories. We can access them in a variety of ways. The most common way, I believe, that people access past life memories is through their own intuition. Intuition is something that everybody has, but something that not everybody makes use of. And it's something that, we're not all agreed on where it comes from. And I think that intuition can actually come from a variety of sources. It can come from your own connection with the infinite source of all, the God of your understanding. It can come from your spirit guides, and I believe that it does. Some intuition is lessons taught to us by our spirit guides, some lessons taught to us by source. And I believe another source of intuition can be past life memories. Memories that are just brewing at the base of our minds, buried deep in our subconscious, but which come into our conscious memory, not as past lives, but as hunches. You get the hunch that, I can't trust that guy over there. I don't know why, but I just get a bad feeling from that person over there. I just feel like I can't trust them. And, is that because you're picking up bad vibes from that person? Could be one possible explanation. Could it also be that you have a past history with that person going back one or two or three or four lifetimes ago, in which, that person let you down in that past life. And even though you can't consciously recall that, subconsciously you're remembering. And at a base level, you just get this feeling, I can't trust that guy. It's as if that person let me down before, even though I can't remember that ever happening. And yeah, sometimes intuition, flashes of intuition, can be the result of past life memories that we don't have direct access to in the conscious mind, but which are buried so deeply in our subconscious that they have the power to guide us, even if we don't consciously recall, even if we do not consciously believe in the possibility of reincarnation. So, yeah, when we open ourselves up to the possibility that this is something that can happen, and we begin to access this vault of information, and we begin to make use of it, yeah, we can make use of it in a variety of ways. We can become amazing historians without ever cracking open a history book. And sometimes that can get you into trouble too, because I remember in high school, I would do very well in certain sections of history without really even cracking open the book. And my teacher would be telling my parents, that kid is so bright, he could be teaching this stuff. And then we'd open into another section of history, and I'd flounder. It would be as if I would be reading the book, and I'd be telling myself, that's not the way it happened. And I'd be objecting to it for not really knowing why. And now of course I understand. I was remembering the history of my experience, and the history of my experience was at odds with the recalled history that was contained in those books. I disagreed with the authors. And of course, I couldn't really come out and say, well, it's because I've lived before and I remember, and these guys are just full of hooey. No, and yeah, that can get you into trouble. But yeah, when you learn to access this knowledge and use it in a proper way, and also learn that, remembering past information is good, but it's also important to keep yourself up to date by incorporating new knowledge, new wisdom, new understanding. Like, I spent 4 years of college just acing through history, acing through spirituality, acing, through theology. And yet the minute I hit a topic that I couldn't ace, namely computer science, I said, I don't need that. And I told myself, my parents were telling me, this is a way of the future. You need to be paying attention to this stuff. And I'd be saying, no, I don't need that. Now, I'm beginning to understand, yeah, mom and dad were right. Bless their souls. It's like, yeah, I should have been paying more attention to the hard stuff as well as the easy stuff. But yeah, we all have natural aptitudes for whatever reason. But, we can stay in our comfort zone. We can stay with what's easy, or we can push ourselves into things that are more challenging. And for me, that more challenging area is the age of the computer, the age of the internet, the age of learning how to keep up with an ever-changing environment, but also remembering the lessons of the past and finding a way to harmonize both, past wisdom with the modern computer age. And that is something that is going to keep me busy as I try to move forward more creatively into this 21st century that we find ourselves in. But yeah, is reincarnation, we have no absolute proof that it exists. That's a given. I believe that it does based upon my own experiences, but, these are anecdotal at best. And there are other evidences for reincarnation, but those can be affirmed by some, and others will go in and disprove them by one methodology or another. So yeah, it kind of boils down to a matter of faith and a matter of personal belief. But there are things that we can learn. And I think that if we enter into life with the attitude that, we're not really blank slates, we're not born blank slates, we're born with everything that we need to succeed in this lifetime. We have been groomed for this life through our own past experiences, whether that occurred in a past life or on a spiritual plane or both. That's up to each individual spiritual aspirant to answer that question for his or herself. But yeah, there is a vault of information that we can access. And so I would say that, yeah, we're not blank slates. We are more like epic novels, collection of experiences that we can use for better or for ill. And once we learn how to access this information, once we feel confident, once we learn how to trust our intuition, once we begin to trust, our instincts, then we can use that intuition, that instinct, and even those past memories to better ourselves and our loved ones in this life that we're living here and now. But yeah, I would say it starts with your attitude. If you're thinking that we're born blank slates and then we just allow ourselves to be programmed by society and other people, and there's spirituality has no effect, well, I would dare to differ. I would say yes, we are programmed with the information that comes at us from all around us. But we also come into this life with certain pre-programs that we're running, spiritual programs that we have been contained within us, either given to us directly by source or by our spirit guides, or gained over the millennia through past lives. And yes, we need to try to first admit that this vault of information, these Akashic records, as some people have called them, that they do exist, and then finding out, okay, what's the best spiritual practice for me to be able to access this information and to begin to make use of it. And for me, that practice is definitely meditation, and then paying attention to my dreams. Listen to the color of your dreams. One old Beatles song that really had an impact on me early in childhood. But yeah, that stuck with me. Listen to the color of your dreams. And it's like, yes, there's a wisdom there. Because when you remember your dreams and you don't write them off as just, man, that was like a wild flight of fancy, wasn't it? I was just really hallucinating pretty deeply on that one, wasn't I? But when you begin to understand that your dreams can be teaching you something, sometimes dreams, it's like the mind's way of relaxing, letting go, and having fun, experiencing new things, flights of fancy, things like that. And other dreams can be very instructive, learning dreams, teaching dreams. Some people report precognitive dreams, where they see into the future, usually just a few hours ahead. Other people, it's like they experience episodes from past lives that teach them something about their present life. And still other people report both. And I mean, dreams can be extremely instructive. So yeah, learn to listen to your dreams. Don't just write them off as wild flights of fancy, but admit that, yeah, there's something you can learn from your dreams. Pay attention to them. Ones that really catch your attention, wake up, write it down, don't forget it, and live that. Bring that knowledge into your consciousness during your waking hours and see what kind of a difference it can make in your life, in the here and now. So yeah, past life memories, reincarnation, intuition, it can all be strengthened through meditation, connecting consciously with the God of our understanding, and then also through paying attention to your dreams. Because dreams is how the universe connects with us. The wider universe connects with us. It's how other people can connect with us from past lives, spirit guides, the God of our understanding, all that can all come together. So yeah, pay attention to your dreams and see what they're telling you about you and where you fit in on the grander scheme of everything. So yeah, definitely don't feel that we're blank slates. We are epic novels, and we can learn to access a lot of this information. Now, before I go, I'd like to share something with you. This is not to do with reincarnation, but it is to do a lot with mindset. And if you're struggling to try to cultivate a mindset of abundance, go to this link, ralphshomebiz.com/grow-rich. This is a mastermind group that's done by phone call, and it's done every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. And we just talk about the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And we have leaders who share from their own personal experiences how they went from broke to manifesting their own level of abundance. And gosh, we have six-figure earners that are in this. We even have a guy that's a seven-figure earner who gives a lot of time to this. And I mean, just a lot of incredible information and just good value for people that are wanting to grow a mindset of abundance. Nobody in this group was born rich, but everybody learned how to grow a mindset of abundance and become wealthy in one form or another by using the principles that are taught in this mastermind group. And the neat thing is, if you can't make the morning call live, you can always access the recorded call, and we use a bunch of information, a lot of books in this mastermind group, and you can get access to the PDF forms of all these books. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, The Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill, Compensation by Ralph Waldo Emerson, something that I believe we're finishing up on Monday. Other books by Ralph Waldo Trine and a raft of others. You can get access to all that material in PDF form, free of charge. Just go to that link, ralphshomebiz.com/grow-rich. Give me your name, your best email address, and you'll get direct access to all this information. The group is free, the call is free, the books are free. Take advantage of it. If you really want to grow a mindset of abundance, live a more prosperous, abundant life in this life, then yeah, that's a good place to start. And just see if it works for you, risk-free. So yeah, that is all for now. Thank you for dropping by. Ralph signing out. Catch you again on Monday with the home-based business broadcast in the morning and a spiritual broadcast in the evening. So until then, God bless, and we'll catch you all later. Bye-bye.